Welcome to another episode of Relics Radio. This is a family-friendly show, so the entire family can join us as we talk metal detecting, relic, and treasure hunting. You can also call in to the show at 270-495-0315 or join in the chat and post any comments or questions you might have. Relics Radio is also now syndicated on goodtalkradio.com and has a show each Sunday afternoon at 2 p.m. Arizona time. You're listening to Relics Radio of Southern Kentucky and Middle Tennessee. And it is showtime, and wherever you are on the globe, you are now listening to the world-famous Relics Radio. Want to welcome all of our live listeners here on the Spreaker app. Also, our syndicated listeners that will be picking up the show through the Cutting Edge Radio Network. And by the way, we are the only metal detecting podcast that is syndicated at this time. But we're also on iTunes, iHeart, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. We're all over the globe. We're 2.5 rednecks out of Southern Kentucky, Middle Tennessee, and the great state of Florida. I am your host, Digging with Seven.
And I'm your co-host, Tennessee Jeff. Where do you come up with all this good talking, man? You sound like a radio announcer or something.
I don't know. Hey, you know what? We just reached 700 members on our Relics Radio Facebook group page. I see Half Redneck put that in there. And by the way, that's Mark Hoover down in Florida. He manages the chat for us and posts any questions or anything and relays and tells us what to do and what not to do, and through Facebook Messenger and everything. And he also wanted me to mention that creature that was on our page. Did you see that thing, Jeff?
I seen that thing, man. It was, what was it, a lizard and corn cob mixed together?
It was.
I wonder how they bred that thing.
It was called, and I don't know that I can even say it, Chupa cornonacabra, found in 5 Mile Holler. I tell you what, the 5 Mile Holler is a world famous place. It's a household name now, you know, and we're going to be booking trips and everything. But I don't know where Mark found that thing. But I tell you what, I'm afraid to go in there by myself anymore.
I believe I am too. The coyote got after us when we were using our detectors without the headset, and next thing I heard something come running. I looked up, and here come a coyote running down the hill, and I was like, Lloyd, where's your gun at? Now, you imagine seeing that thing come after you?
I know it. I'd probably just die right there. Yeah, guys, we were using our AT Pros, and when we use them, we don't use any headphones. And of course, you got all that beeping and everything. Sounded like some kind of critter, you know, just in distress. And this coyote come flying off the hill down in the holler there, and run right up on Jeff. I don't know who was most surprised, but they both went in opposite directions. And then it wasn't 10 minutes later till we called a whole flock of turkeys off the hill, didn't we, with them?
Yeah, we sure did. And then, we might ought to be safe with all the critters running around there. I mean, we do have big cats and we do have bears running around there, so you never know when a big cat or a black bear is going to come up.
I know it. And guys, me and Jeff got out and hunted yesterday, didn't we, Jeff?
We sure did. Of course, when I first showed up, it was Loy's cavalry camp he's been hunting and doing real well at. And of course, I showed up, and it was about 9 o'clock, something like that. And of course, it was a great morning, overcast, a good breeze blowing. And then, of course, Lloyd, he mentioned the overcast, like, man, it's going to be a great day. And I guess it wasn't 5 minutes. That overcast was gone. That sun come out, and I felt like a bag of popcorn in the microwave.
Oh, man, it got hot quick. And we took a break and went and ate dinner. But we had a good day. Found some nice stuff there. Found some Civil War stuff. Found some old money. We don't find old money much.
We sure don't. And then, of course, that was my first V-nickel in quite a while. So
yeah.
I was tickled to get it.
Well, you should have stayed in the area because that coin, and I don't want to give it away, but that coin that I found today was about 5 or 6 foot from where you found that. So,
man,
I'm a bottom feeder. That's what I am. I'm a bottom feeder.
I left it for you.
Yeah.
I'll find the plate next time.
If you do, I'll kill you. You won't never get out of there. It's an amazing little place. I tell you, it's scattered. A lot of the relics are scattered, but you find these little pockets, and I found some more Colt 36s. I've got the 44 woods. That's where all the Colt 44s come from. I don't know. Maybe we'll call that the 36 Hill because all of the 36s that come out of there. There's not any 44s that have come out of there that I found, and it's virgin. Nobody's ever hunted it, But great little spot. And by the way, I think Ken and Mark. Mark. What am I trying to say? Tim and Ron. Tim and Ron. I'm trying to get the Detectiste guys down here. Tim and Ron are coming Monday, and I guess you're probably going to come with them, aren't you?
I am. If everything works out, and if creek don't rise and the Lord's willing, I'll be there.
Well, they rose a little bit this afternoon, and it needed to rain. I tell you, the ground was getting hard. We went and ate dinner, and then when we came back, I told Jeff, I said, I believe the ground got harder while we were gone. But it really did. I mean, it was dry, but we had a good rain and everything, and I was a little bit worried this afternoon. I'm always worried on show nights, be it Monday or Thursday, that a big storm is going to come up and affect some of the stuff, but it hadn't, and so everything is good, and we're ready to go tonight, and we got a great guest, don't we?
We sure do. We got Maia Schofield. So how's it going, Maia?
I'm good. How are you?
Just fine.
We are great. So excited to have you on tonight and to be our guest and get to know you and let all of our listeners get to know you. And just right out of the gate here, and by the way, guys, I've got her YouTube channel, MissDetectorist. I've got a link to that on in the description on this show, and I want to challenge you to do something tonight. If you're not subscribed to her channel, do that tonight. The link is there. It's easy. All you have to do is just click it, go over there and subscribe. Click that little bell where you'll get all the notifications of her new YouTube videos that come out. Got a link there to her Facebook channel and everything. But to kick the show off tonight, Maia, why don't you tell us how and where that you got into this hobby of relic hunting?
Sure. So it was about 3 years ago, I'd say. And, well, long before that, I'd always loved history. And I got into coin collecting. And I was, collecting coins and saving up money to buy, rare coins. And then I kind of, one way or another, I heard about metal detecting. And I figured, geez, well, I had to just go find my own old coins. And so that's originally how I got into it, and spent a lot of time digging things that were not coins. And I realized that I actually kind of liked that. So that's kind of how I became a relic hunter, I suppose.
Yeah. So you're mainly colonial sites now, aren't you?
Yep. I am pretty much, everything. I'm up in New Hampshire, so most everything up here is colonial era. Mm-hmm. So I do a lot of that. I do a lot of cellar hole hunting, which is a lot of fun and a lot of, really cool colonial relics. So
what detector do you use?
So right now I am using a Lab Equinox 800.
It seems to work out pretty good with running the cellar holes and stuff.
It's awesome for cellar holes. That's actually why I'm really been using it. It's great in the heavy iron and with all the trash.
Yeah, I always wondered about the cellar holes, and Of course, down here in Tennessee, we didn't have many cellar holes. I mean, you may find one every now and then, but do you actually dig them out and try to get to the bottom of them, or are they just open?
So it depends on the hole. Some of them do get filled in over time with, leaves or even just dirt. Sometimes they will fill them in. A lot of times they're filled in with trash, which is a whole nother thing. But usually they are somewhat, filled up. Sometimes they are empty, but you can still kind of climb in them and swing around a bit.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good. And you don't have much Civil War activity around where you're at, do you?
I don't really. It's kind of where everybody started at. So, there's stuff up in Concord, New Hampshire, where they were, drafting people and, well, not drafting, but signing people up. But yeah, not a lot up here.
About the only thing that y'all find that is Civil War related most of the time, according to our buddy Keebs, is stuff that was brought home by soldiers, which was really common. He found a sword belt plate up there at one of the cellar holes, and it was his opinion that had been brought home, by a soldier, and what a great find. So, but I tell you what, my passion is the colonial stuff. I wish we had more of it. You live in a dream spot right there, as far as I'm concerned. Because if I could just say what is my favorite relic to find, it'd almost have to be flat buttons.
Really?
That's right. I mean,
well, you ought to come up because you'll dig 100 of them.
I know.
Oh, man.
It was 2 years ago, I guess. I kind of challenged myself. Of course, me and Jeff were hunting, and I was hunting myself a lot of our colonial sites, and we don't have too many now. Jeff's right. We don't have too many. But my numbers, I kept keeping account of how many flat buttons that I found. And I was getting up close to 300 by the end of the year. And so I just challenged myself. I want to find 300. And everybody was rooting me on. And so I finally found 301, which is phenomenal for our
That's
area.
That's awesome.
But there is so much character in those buttons in there. They're all different. And just imagine, the different stories that each one of those could tell.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's completely endless. I love digging flat buttons. I have so many of them, but everyone is unique. Like you said, every time it's surprising.
And whenever you're at those sites, you're around the old money, ain't you, Jeff?
You sure are. And I mean, we love the old money. Of course, we don't have many large cents down here. Now we have several reals, but the large cents, we just don't have them. And your seeded coins, we have several of those and stuff, but we would love to get up in the real colonial area and find some King Georges and all your old coppers that you find. Of course, like I said, we can't find them down here.
Yeah, I love digging those. I always get kind of made fun of because I don't even really consider the large cents to be like real coppers. Like I know they're copper, but when I say coppers, I'm usually talking about 1700s, British colonial coins or, Hibernias, kind of those sorts of things. Because those are what I really love finding, before we were even a country. It's wild.
Yeah, and that's the old money right there. And, there's very little chance of us finding any of the King George stuff down here. It's not impossible, but, it's very unlikely down this way. And in the South, merchants didn't trust the copper coinage. That's why we don't have large cents. They wanted silver. And so that's why we have a lot of the reals. And we find a lot of reals, and we find a lot of cut reals here. But you recently found a great cut silver, didn't you?
Yes, I did. And it was quite a story. I actually found it a little further down south. I actually got that in Virginia. I was out there digging with Riley Bryant. And it's pretty crazy. It was my last signal, my last hole. They were calling me, telling me I needed to go and get in the truck to go to the airport. So I was being a real pain in the butt, and I turned around and said, well, I've got headphones on. If I walk over the edge of the field, I don't really have to go. They'll have to come get me. So I was kind of trying to buy time, and I just walked back. I said, okay, I guess I ought to go. The flight's leaving soon. And all of a sudden I heard this crazy screaming signal. And I thought it was a beer can, but I went and kicked the dirt. Beer can went flying. I was like, that can't be a beer can. And lo and behold, it was a cut 2-reel pistarine.
Really?
Yep.
That's what Jeff found at the what place was that?
That was Anthony Bledsoe's fort. I was telling you about right before the music started.
Yeah.
And of course, it's neat. Finding something 1721, and Tennessee wasn't even a state, and of course it had been cut. So that was a great.
I've got something that I want to add to that in just a moment, but we need to run a commercial, and we'll talk about that after the commercial. T-shirts are a perfect way to get your brand recognized, whether you're talking about a business, a club, a sports team, your YouTube channel, or whatever. But you may have asked, where can I get quality, affordable shirts on demand? Well, I'm glad you asked. Relics Radio uses DetectTees.com for all of our T-shirts, long sleeve shirts, and hoodies. That's DetectTees.com. Ken and Mark Guthrie make quality shirts that last, they ship quick, and best of all, they're affordable. So if you need customized apparel, then go to DetectTees.com and be sure and tell them that Relics Radio sent you. And Ken and Mark and Detect Tees have been faithful sponsors of this show just about since we started. And I tell you what we're going to do, Maya. We're going to give you one of the Relics Radio T-shirts tonight, courtesy of DetectTees.com and Ken and Mark Guthrie. So you remind me after the show, and we'll get together and get an address and shirt size and everything. But getting back to the pistarine to talk about it, I don't know if you know all the history about that 1621 coin. But with the wars that were going on, the king tried to reduce the amount of silver in that pistarine. And he did. The silver value or weight of the coin didn't match whatever denomination that it was. And they sent a whole shipment of those over to the States. And the merchants over here wouldn't take them. And so they collected all of those pistarines, melted them down, and made then Carlos III is what they melted them down and made. So the only pistarines that survive today are those that were lost prior to them being melted down. So it's a more valuable coin than you think that it is. And we didn't know that, did we, Jeff, until we researched it?
We sure didn't, and luckily, I mean, you knew where to go to research all of it. And we were looking at it, and of course, we could see. I thought it was just a regular old cut rail like we normally find, and then I got to noticing it looked different. And then, of course, then we got to doing some research on it, and then that's when Lloyd figured out what it was. So, I mean, it was a shocking find for me, especially here in Middle Tennessee.
It was, and it was a shocking find to you too, wasn't it, Mike?
Oh my goodness, I lost my mind. You'll see in the video, I just completely...
I saw that you had that on, you posted that on your channel, and then Riley Bryant posted the same thing on...
Copied me.
Copied him. And I tell you what, we're gonna break from custom just a little bit. We're gonna take one call. I'm gonna let Riley Bryant call in. Nobody else call in now. I just want to talk to Riley Bryant right now and wait till we get after the syndication. But I want Riley to get in this because I got a bone to pick with him. I was noticing this afternoon that Riley had put, and by the way, the number is 270-495-0315, Riley. And if you'll put that in, Jeff, so Riley can find. He's a little bit of a redneck too, living over there in Memphis. But anyway.
His Skype picture, he's holding two plates up next to his head, and it looks like his ears sticking out.
We'll see if we can get him in here. I don't see him yet. But anyway, I got a bone to pick with him because I don't know if you noticed it, Maya, whenever he and he's calling in now. I'll see if I can merge him into the conversation. Just hang on there for a little bit, Riley. But his title, did you see the title that he put on his video that he copied from yours?
I think it was something about.
Now I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna read it to you.
Read it out loud.
And you just think about this for a minute. It says, "Girl finds 300-year-old silver and relics while metal detecting, older than George Washington." Now, is he talking about the silver and the relics, or is he talking about Maya? What about it, Riley?
Yeah, that's not what I meant. I think people might have could see that wasn't what I was talking about. But I mean,
Riley,
it's a fair argument. It's a fair argument. It did look suspicious.
You know, I had to do that to you. Me and Riley are both part of the American Digger Magazine network stuff over there, so I got to pick at him whenever I can. Don't get to see him as much as I would like, but tell us about that hunt there in Virginia with you and Maya.
Oh, so that was a kind of a on-the-fly decision to go over there. I wanted to meet her, and then I wanted to, at the same time, get on some good sites. And it was already getting really hot down here, and I thought to myself, I really don't want to be out here digging for like 4 days straight when it's 100 degrees and ticks and snakes are everywhere. And I really don't think she would want that either. So I decided to get in touch with some of my friends over in Richmond and see if we could get some sites lined up. And they were able to line up some really good sites for us. My friend Jonas and Rocky Gerald and a bunch of other people got in touch with me and extended an invitation over to me to go and hunt with them. But man, the first day was one for the record books. I mean, it was the craziest.
Don't
I haven't
ruin
hunted a site. I haven't hunted a site that good in a long time. But we'll get to that later.
Wow.
We're keeping that up our sleeves.
Yeah, I guess you got a video. You've got a video coming out on that, don't you? And you don't want to give away.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I got a good video coming out.
Yeah, so don't mess it up,
too.
Riley. That's all we're saying. Just don't mess it up. It looked like a fun hunt. It really did. And, you guys riding on the back end of a pickup truck there and filming that's a little bit redneck, ain't it, Jeff?
It sure is. I've done that a few times, and then, of course, it's all fine and good until somebody falls off. But,
that was my first time ever riding in the back of a pickup truck, so that was pretty exciting.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Well,
and I filmed it live for all you guys.
Yeah, you did. You sure did. Is that the first time? And you're based there in New Hampshire. Is that the first hunt that you've had outside of New England?
No. I've been to Pennsylvania before. That's, I guess other than that, that's the only other. So yeah, I guess it's my only hunt down south.
Yeah. Well, it was a great hunt, and you got anything to add to it, Riley, while we got you on the line here, or anything to that you want to ask Maya?
Well, I mean, I don't want to spoil the rest of the show, so I'm just gonna hang back and let y'all ask the questions. She can explain all the juicy details of the hunt. I don't want to give anything away.
Okay.
You already said she was 300 years old. So.
I know. Probably just mute him.
And Jocelyn got a kick out of that too. That's what we're about. I tell you what, if you can't have fun, you might as well just go home, hadn't you?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mark Hoover, though, does have a good question that came in the chat. How did you guys meet each other?
That's interesting. I was on. She actually sent me we met in Virginia, but she sent me a message on Facebook asking me if I was going to the Best of Northeast hunt. And Butch had that thing in Texas that he was going to that was the same date. And he wanted me to go up there and represent American Digger magazine at their table. But I mean, with school, and I had just gotten back from a basketball tournament, and funds were, my pocket was essentially empty. But, yeah, with school and all that, I just couldn't afford it and didn't have enough time to go up there and go to the hunt. But she messaged me and asked me on Facebook if I was going there. But unfortunately, I wasn't. But anyway, after that, we just started talking on Facebook and decided to meet up somewhere and dig.
Well, that's good. And I tell you what, talking about Butch, he hollered at me a couple of days before he left to go to Texas, and he said, "Hey, gather up all of the remote studio stuff and drive down and meet me right here." And he said, "I'll drive and we'll go out there and we'll have a live show there in Texas." Now, get this, people. This is Butch's magazine, American Digger magazine, and we're working for him. And then he said at the end of that, "We'll split the gas." Oh, he's a character.
Smart businessman.
Yeah, he is a smart businessman. I guess Anita's putting some of that in his head, probably.
Oh, man.
Was it Chattanooga or Charleston? He's like, he wouldn't even buy us a pizza. He said he would leave us the anchovies.
I don't.
Oh my gosh!
I don't remember. He's a character, though, isn't he, Riley?
Oh yeah, he's a fun dude.
Yeah.
I love hanging around him.
Yeah, I do too. You never know what's going to come out of his mouth. I'll tell you that.
Exactly.
Brains in neutral and mouth in high gear all the time. I kid him on the podcast. Sometimes he just opens his mouth and it just flows out. Hey, Maya, tell us a little. You did go to the bone hunt, right?
I did. All days. Mm-hmm.
Tell us a little bit about it.
So it was awesome. I got there on Tuesday for like the early hunt, and I got to meet some pretty cool people, a bunch of people that I had already met last year there. A lot of same people go every year, but some new people. I think you guys would probably know them, honestly. I got to meet KG and Ringy and Aqua Chigger, and they were actually pretty cool dudes.
Yeah, we've had all of those guys.
Sure, you have
on the show.
Yeah.
And
I've been blessed with hunting with all three of them, and man, all three of them. I mean, great dudes, and it's not just about relic hunting. If you find something that's great, but just hunting with them, and they'll have you laughing the whole time.
Exactly. They have a real good time.
Don't you think, Maya, that is, you get to go to these hunts and you have the opportunity to find some amazing stuff. There's no doubt about that. But the camaraderie that you have at these hunts and get to meet people that you've talked to on Facebook or YouTube, isn't that the real treasure that you find at these hunts?
Oh yeah, that's the whole thing for me. I mean, I can go out anywhere into the woods and dig buttons all day long, it's, but you don't always get to go and meet a whole bunch of, like-minded people who really are passionate about the hobby and about history like you are. And I think, that's why I love going to those hunts and going out and meeting people. 'Cause yeah, like you said, there's a camaraderie that you don't get all the time. And you get to meet some cool people and open yourself up to some cool opportunities.
And you get to kind of pick their brain, too, don't you? I mean, as
Yes.
far as how they go about finding the sites and what machines that they use, what techniques that they use, and everything. Which brings up a point, really, or a question, I guess. When you go into a brand new site, how do you approach that site?
Sure. So if I already kind of know what's going on, I'll kind of stand there for a little bit and kind of look around and sort of kind of try to picture it how it used to be. Usually it's a cellar that I'm at, but I'd say, okay, where's my front door? Where's my water source? How would I have walked up to my house? Or, where would we have walked along the field edges? And I kind of just try to picture it. That's the biggest thing as far as analyzing kind of a site. Then I'll look, kind of see what's worn down where. because you can usually, if you look close enough, see where people would have walked because it kind of wears down over time. And then I just kind of go from there.
Yeah.
And that works out pretty well for me.
And I know that Jeff's got some follow-up questions that he wants to ask, but we need to run one more commercial right here real quick, and we'll be right back with that. If your passion is metal detecting, then you know how much your success is based on the equipment you use. Let my buddy Tim Henderson of Murray Branch Outdoors in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, help you with that. Tim is an authorized dealer of Mine Lab, Garrett, XP-DES, and macro detectors and supplies, and also carries many aftermarket items. Murray Branch Outdoors is not only competitive in their prices, but the service after the sale is second to none. Tim not only sells detectors, he uses them, and so he can answer any question that you might have. Murray Branch Outdoors also deals in used detectors, and he'll take your old detector in on trade when you decide to upgrade. So give Tim Henderson of Murray Branch Outdoors a call at 615-948-4611 or visit his website at www.murraybranchoutdoors.com, and be sure and tell him Relics Radio sent you. And by the way, Tim is a good friend of ours. We hunt with him and Ron. They're known as the Dig Dogs down in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. They're coming up here Monday to hunt with us, but he messaged me today, and somebody just bought a Knox 800, I think, from him, and maybe a coil as well. And then somebody else was checking in, show listeners that are calling in and talking to Tim Henderson about supplies, metal detecting supplies and everything. Hey, guys, we appreciate that. We don't make any money out of that, but Tim is he's a good sponsor here. And by the way, he and Note to Micro are putting up an amphibio, and we're going to release the details on this coming next week, as to how you, as a listener of Relics Radio, are going to have an opportunity between now and the end of June to win an amazing metal detector, the amphibio. And I know everybody's interested in that, and I'm sure that you've got some follow-up questions on how you approach a site there, Jeff.
I sure do, but I was wanting to get on the amphibio, and I can't wait to give that away. I really want to see how one works, and then I would love to see the treasures that they find with it after they get it. So make sure whoever wins it puts all your finds on Relics Radio Group. But anyway, all right, if you had anywhere in the world that you wanted to hunt, where would it be and why?
Ooh, gosh. So that's probably going to be either England or Germany. I guess I'd pick England because there's just so much history there, and our history as a country also kind of starts there. Things from thousands and thousands of years old, and stuff from the Vikings, and just everybody all over history has been through England and dropped things. So I just think that'd be the coolest place to hunt.
I believe I'm right there with you. I mean, I think it would be pretty cool to go over there. And then, of course, you see these videos, what is it called, mudlarking? And that would be pretty cool on itself. Of course, I don't believe you can use a metal detector to do that. You just have to kind of just walk around and look. And I know Bo has been there and done that. Aqua Terrier has been there and done that. So in New England, when you do your research, you pretty much, when you walk out into the woods, how long does it take you to find the home site?
Depending on, I usually know where I'm going. I usually look at the old maps ahead of time, and I kind of have it all figured out. So honestly, I just use my GPS and I navigate right to it. But back before I figured all that out, some of them can be really hard to spot. Some of them you really have to know they're there. You really have to be looking for them. But most of the time, when you really just kind of pay attention to the trees and the stone walls, I look for flat areas. That really helps, because people, they don't want to live up on a huge hill all the time. So up the top of the huge hill, they'd level it out. there's things like that, openings in stone walls, which I know not everybody has the benefit of being able to look at those, but you can still see paths everywhere. So usually if once I'm out there at the site, it doesn't take me very long at all.
Yeah, I know. Of course, here in Tennessee, we have a lot more walls than they do in Kentucky. But see, you always look at New Hampshire and you think, well, it's in the Northeast. Well, it's houses everywhere. It's all built up and everything. But that's not the fact. Of course, we talked to Butch Holcomb, Loy and I did, and when they went up to the bone hunt, they got some different permissions to hunt, and they said you could walk through the woods for hours and hours. And of course, I had no idea that you could do that. And I mean, you could find just about anything that nobody's ever seen. I mean, modern people have seen anyway, and that would be very cool to.
Yeah,
do.
it's New Hampshire is pretty funny. It's a pretty big, small state. Where I live on the other side of New Hampshire from Bone is a lot more populated. So everybody's got like an acre plot, but still, even there, you forget that all these big houses and buildings all are on top of those colonial home sites. So you still can figure out where they were and go knock on the doors and get permission there and pull, colonial shoe buckles right out of somebody's front yard.
Yep. You said that you GPS mark all those locations. How do you translate the old map into a GPS marker? Are you overlaying? Are you using MapReca? Or what's your method for that?
So I'm overlaying. I'm looking for things that are the same. A lot of times, the nice thing about up here too is, at least in this neck of the woods, we keep, they'll preserve a lot of the older buildings. So you'll be able to say, okay, here's the meeting house, back in 1810, and then it's still here now. So you can kind of base it off of the old buildings existing. Rivers will move a little bit, but you can kind of use those too to help you out. Roads, a lot of the main roads and the highways are original highways back from, late 1600s. So I'll do that and just kind of overlay them, and usually works out pretty good.
Have you ever thought about getting into the privy digging? I
actually have. I would love to. I was actually just talking to Aqua Sugar about it at Bone. I do a little bottle digging now. But usually that's just I'm detecting and I had come across bottles and just start digging. But I haven't really I've never dug an actual privy. So that's on the agenda. If anybody knows anybody's yards that they want to let me go dig privies in, let me know.
Yeah, well, Seven and I, we have a few yards that we can dig the privies anytime we want to, but we just have to locate them. And then, of course, it's kind of, you find here in a rural area, you find a home site, and it's kind of hard to tell where the old road was, which is the front or which was the back of the house. But sooner or later, we're going to find these dead blame privies, and we're going to have some good bottles. So, but
and most people don't know that it was 1977 before we had an indoor bathroom here.
Really?
Really. And I think it's the worst thing that they ever done was moving the bathroom in the house and the dogs outside the house. That's just a redneck opinion about the matter. But what was you fixing to say, Jeff?
I was going to ask her about influences. Who is some of your biggest influences on your hobby?
Yeah. So basically, kind of corny ones. Actually, my mom and dad have a huge influence on me. I know I talked a little bit with Mark about it, but my dad used to be a treasure diver, and he has always been into history. And he was reading to me about Hannah Duston. I don't know if you guys know Hannah Duston, but back when I was a very young kid. So I've always been into history. And he's definitely got me into a lot of that. And my mom used to dig with me. But aside from them, I met Michael Bennett at my first bone hunt last year. I thought he was pretty cool. And it was neat to see, another young person digging and talk to him. I've met Riley recently. I met all sorts of people. But
yeah, and there's more young people starting the hobby now than ever has been before. It used to be an old man's hobby. of course, you would see somebody on the beach, and it's like it would be an older person. And now it's pretty much you see a lot of younger people doing it. And then, of course, I mean that's what we want. We want younger people to get into this hobby. Where I mean it carries on, and it just doesn't go away with the older people.
Yeah, it's definitely. I definitely would love to kind of get more young people into it, and you know, everybody should be into it because it's definitely a cool hobby that I think a lot of people don't even know what it is when you talk about it, but they're missing out.
They are. It's funny if you're down here. Of course, most of the people that own big tracts of land down here are older people that they inherited from their parents, and then their parents inherited it. And then, of course, you'll walk up to like an 80-year-old woman, and you'll be like, "Hey, ma'am, you'll introduce yourself. Can I search for treasure or metal detector, whatever?" And she'll kind of look at you funny and, "Well, what's a metal detector, Sonny?" And then, of course, then you'll have to go in that spiel. And then a lot of them will say no right off the bat. And then, of course, you look, well, they may have something buried in their backyard that they don't want you to find. Like a lot of people, you get older people like that didn't trust the banks, and they still would bury money in their backyard.
Wow. I never thought about that. That makes a lot of sense, though.
Yep. So,
hey, I'd like to follow up. You said that your dad was a treasure diver. Where did he dive at?
Saipan.
Now, where's that?
It's in
China?
It's in Asia.
Okay.
Yeah.
China.
It's kind of over there. Yeah, I don't know a ton about what he did exactly. I just know he was, dive off wrecks and collect treasure. Exactly what it sounds like.
Yeah. Have you ever considered that? Has that ever been something that might interest you in the future?
Yes, very much so. I would love to. I'm not dive certified. We don't have a lot of time in the year that we can, swim without freezing. So I'll have to, choose some time during the summer to get certified and then hopefully go and do it because I think that'd be a lot of fun.
What do your parents think about you, treasure hunting, metal detecting, and everything? Obviously, there's a good tie with your father because he did that, but are they encouraging about it and everything?
Oh, yeah. My parents are like my biggest, they're obsessed with it. I'll come home from being out digging and they're like, "Wow, what'd you get? And I'll say, "Oh, just some shotgun shells." And they're still every time they're like, "Oh, that's so cool. Oh, show us what you got." Like, you can't, you can't escape that. They love it. They're always sharing everything. They're telling everybody, "Oh, my daughter metal detects." They're always getting me permissions. They're funny. They're great supportive people.
That's great. And of course, my dad, he's always, he would love to go with me, but he's not able to. And a lot of times I see these son and father teams, they hunt together, and I've never had that feeling, so I don't know what it would be like. I would love to get out with him sometime, but he would be trying to tell me, knowing my dad, he would be hard-headed. "Well, son, this come from this time period," and of course me knowing, like, "No, Daddy, it wouldn't." Next thing you know, we'd be, "Well, just take me home."
Yep.
Now, Riley could talk about that because him and Chuck hunt together all the time.
Chuck is cool.
Yes, he is.
We got to hunt with Chuck, yep.
And very, very, very supportive of everything that Riley does. And I think that's just simply amazing. Of course, we get to see those guys a little bit at the live shows that we do. And it's just... it's amazing to see a father and son like that, that are so tuned in together. I've got our oldest grandson has always lived with us, and he's fixing to turn 21 this year. And he never really took an interest in this. I wish that one of my grandsons, would take an interest and want to hunt with me because I guess I'd be like what Jeff was saying, though we couldn't get along very long.
That's it. Have you ever thought about magnet fishing?
Magnet fishing? I honestly haven't tried it. Don't really thought too much about it, but I've seen people find some pretty cool stuff. I'd love to try it. What do you? Is it usually rivers or where do you Where do you magnet fish?
Any body of water, I guess. And then I've never really done it myself. I've just seen a lot of cool videos and a lot of good finds that they find doing it. And pretty much Seven and I, we've talked about it, and we just haven't went out and bought us one of the big 500-pound magnets or whatever they are yet. So it's just sooner or later we're going to end up just buying a magnet, and we'll end up losing it the first day probably.
Sticking it to something you can't unstick it from. That's probably what I'd do.
Hang on around an old root stump or something.
The part of the country that we live in, we'll probably pull up a 1956 Mercury or something other out of the water. You don't ever know. Hey, guys, we need to take a break here and run an American Digger magazine commercial. If you want to keep up with what's going on in the metal detecting world, then you need to be a subscriber to American Digger magazine. Butch and Anita Holcomb are the publishers of the magazine and have won awards for 3 straight years for being the best digger magazine on the market. American Digger magazine is available in both print and digital formats, so no matter where you live in the world, you can enjoy the latest happenings in the hobby. You can get in touch with American Digger magazine by going to americandigger.com or give them a call at 770-362-8671. And be sure and tell them that you heard it on Relics Radio. And it is the premier metal detecting magazine on the market today. There's no doubt about it. And by the way, I am the producer and co-host of American Digger Magazine's Relic Roundup every Monday night at 9 o'clock Eastern, along with the legend Butch Holcomb and Jeff Lubert out of Colorado. And Riley, you're still on here, but they won an award again this year at the Bone Hunt. Am I correct?
Yeah, they did.
So what is that? Is that 4 years in a row now? I guess I'm going to have to redo the commercial.
I know it's at least, was it 3 before last? Because I hadn't been with them that long.
Yeah, I think it was. It's either 3 or 4. I wasn't listening, but yeah, I'll have to redo that. That's amazing, isn't it, to receive an award like that?
Oh yeah, it is. I mean, they're deserving of it, too. I mean, Butch works really hard.
Yeah, he does. And we've started on Monday night having people on as guests that have written articles and everything, or about the person that was written about. We may have them on, but it's kind of a writer spotlight thing. It's an amazing magazine. There's no doubt about it. And, just the world that we live in today, with all the social media and everything, which I guess Maya kind of leads into a question. What are your experiences and your thoughts about YouTube and how difficult that it is to produce, and just some of your thoughts on YouTube?
Thoughts on YouTube? Well, I've only been doing it for about 2 months now, I'd say. So I'm kind of a new YouTuber, but so far so good. It takes a lot of time to edit and get things to where you want them to be. So it's amazing how much work can go into like a 5-minute video. So I appreciated that, but I didn't really quite appreciate that as much as I do now. But yeah, it's pretty cool. I love kind of just being able to share my finds and my experiences with everybody, and being able to watch everybody else's too. You can learn a lot from it.
That's pretty good. And of course, I've got a YouTube channel, Tennessee Jeff, and I started it a few years back, and I built up a followership with everybody, and then of course, then Seven and I, we started doing videos together. Then I ended up having a son, and his name's Avery, and of course, that cut into my detecting quite a bit, so I started my YouTube channel back up, and it does take a lot of time, and it started out just showing the finds to other people and what I was finding and everything, and then it's just about the adventure. I mean, you do the video, and I mean, if you do find a good find that day, it's good. But if you don't, then I mean, they still get to see your adventure.
What do you think's the most challenging as far as putting a video together, Maya?
Probably how to kind of organize it, I guess, in a way that sort of makes sense and keeps people interested. I know with my videos a lot, and everybody always says to me, online, they're always like, "Oh, how come you dig all these amazing things?" And you and I both know that we don't dig only amazing things all the time. There's a whole lot of pull tabs and beer cans for every flat button that you dig.
That's right.
So there's a whole lot of editing going on. So, sometimes I'll do, and I'm not able to, I work full time, so I'm not able to devote a bunch of time to digging. So I'll put, several days together. So that can be kind of tricky sometimes, putting things from different sites and different days together into one video in a way that sort of kind of makes sense. So yeah, I think the editing is kind of the hardest part.
It is, and sometimes a video takes a life of its own. I mean, you will start out, but the beauty of this hobby is a hunt can just be a nothing hunt, and it only takes one signal. Like your pistorine. I mean, to completely turn everything around. And then it shifts your focus. You know that you're going to focus now on the best find that you have, and everything else are just going to be supporting actors in that, aren't they?
Mm-hmm. So I say I'm glad that I found that the last day instead of the first day, because nothing would really touch that.
Right.
Man, that would have been rough to try to beat that.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know if we asked you there a while ago or not, but is that your first cut Spanish silver that you found?
That is my first and only cut Spanish silver. So I was,
wow.
As you can tell from the video, I was absolutely beside myself. It was amazing.
And
we always ask, what is your best find that you've found since you've been metal detecting?
Well,
that'd be it.
See, I have a tie of 3 now. That's one of them. That I'd say, my late 1700s to at the latest War of 1812 era. Pocket pistol, flintlock pocket pistol, which should be up on my Instagram, and I think I put the YouTube video up too. That was really cool. Found that at a cellar hole outside Boston, so definitely, used right around the time we were becoming, a country. So that was pretty neat. And I've got a 1890s Salem, New Hampshire Police Department badge, which is, a little town right nearby me, so that was nice.
That's some good finds. I'm jealous.
Sure, you got crazier things.
Anytime, though, that you find something that is kind of personalized or regionalized, like, a token or something to a local store, it means more to the person that lives there and hunts there, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah, it definitely does.
Even though it may not be the best find that you have, that you found. What do you think you should have found at this point, but yet you haven't? Your white whale, as the Hoover boys say.
Oh, gosh. Well, probably a seeded dime. I feel like I ought to have found one of those by now. And 2 cent pieces keep trying to tease me a little bit. I dug one at the seeded hunt. I've dug so many at seeded hunts, but I've never actually dug one. I've seen probably, 3 of them dug right in front of me, but I haven't found one. So,
well, that's mine right there. I've dug everything, just about everything except a 2-center. And Jeff dug one at a site that we called Harmonica Hill. And I think that's the only one that he's got. They're just not common down here, evidently. But, as many Civil War spots as we hunt, you'd think that we'd find one, but it still eludes me. And, it's just the quest of trying to get it. Hey, guys, we are past the point of our syndication, and so we're going to open up the phone lines. 270-495-0315. Call in, and Jeff has put it in the chat there. If you'd like to talk to Maia Schofield, ask her a question, or just chat with her, call in 270-495-0315.
And Maya, they always ask what's on my bucket list. Well, I mean, I found a half cent, and of course it was an American half cent. And I didn't even realize America had a half cent. And there's so many things that I don't even know exist.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know what would be on my bucket list. So, I mean, just anything I dig is on my bucket list.
Mm-hmm. I've got mine. I need a Fujio. Anybody who knows me knows that's been I've been looking for my Fujio. So I love the whole story behind it. Benjamin Franklin designed it, and they only had it 1 year. It's just so cool.
Yeah, what year was that?
The Fujios?
Mm-hmm.
I believe it's 1787, but I could be wrong.
Yeah. Well, see, that's on my bucket list too, and I didn't even think.
And most people might not know about that. Why don't you talk a little bit more about the Fujio?
About the Fujios, yeah. So Fujio was designed by Benjamin Franklin. It is 1787. I just checked. And they were... so it's basically, it says, the Fujio means I fly. And it's pretty neat. It says on one side, I think it says, mind your business, which I always thought was kind of funny. It's kind of in your face a little bit, which is very much America at that time. And I know that they didn't end up using them. And I think later on they actually got rid of them. They melted them down and turned them into other stuff. So they're relatively common, but not super common. I know tons of people have found them, but I've never found one.
And Bill Marsh of Ohio Relic Hunter is in the chat, and he asked a question that had popped up in my mind I was going to follow up with. What about the George Washington inaugural buttons? Have you found one of those?
No, I haven't, but I was right in the area where one was found, right out Best of the Northeast. Miguel dug one. Oh, gosh, I was at that same site the next day, and I was like, oh, man. So, no, I have not dug a GW button yet. That's also on the list. Dug some cool buttons, but not that one.
Well, you're in a good spot. So.
Yeah, you are. And being,
sure think
so. I think that you have the same passion for flat buttons that I have. And having that passion, that's at the very top of the list. And I have almost a zero chance of digging one. But you've got a pretty good opportunity living up in the Northeast.
Never say never. You can find them. I'm sure of it. Sometimes those things, weird things end up going further because people, cherish them and keep them with them and bring them all over the world.
And Digger Dame, he said he was with Keebs whenever he dug his Fujio. I remember that video. What a great find.
I would probably just cry of excitement, of course. But that's on the list. That and a tree coin, of course.
Oh, yeah. I've heard a lot about them. And, of course, I didn't even know what it was. And I've seen a couple of them found. And, they're pretty high-priced coin.
Oh, yeah. Somebody found one in Virginia, too, not that long ago. So, hey, there are definitely some down south.
And what about the pine tree shillings? Do you know anybody that's found one of those?
Oh, yeah. When I say tree coins, I mean just kind of any of those sort of arrow type coins. But yeah, no, actually, I know somebody who's got 6 of them.
Wow.
Yeah, he's been digging a long time. He's a lucky duck. They're all down around Plymouth, Mass, that kind of area. So that's where people, really were. And then I know somebody who actually found one literally 10 minutes from my house.
No kidding.
It's beautiful too. But yeah, they're definitely around here. I'd say Fujios are more common, so it's a little more realistic goal. But the tree coins are definitely out there.
When you get a coin out of the ground, where you're from, how does the soil treat the coin? I mean, or do they come out rough, or does it just depend?
It completely depends on, just about everything. I mean, fields are totally different than woods, and we have so many different like swamps, and we don't really have, it's not quite the same as, I haven't dug most places in the South, but in Virginia, things seem to come out nice because the sand is, the dirt's just sand and clay. Up here, it's pretty rocky and acidic soil, so a lot of the stuff is trashed. Like coppers, a lot of times are large cents in particular. It's very rough on them, but silver comes out beautiful anywhere.
Yeah, we have a lot of, like the farmers, like they tilled the fields, and the coin may be messed up, and you have a lot of fertilizer they put on the ground, and it's pretty rough on the buttons and the coins. So. But we had a question from Denny. Have you ever found a flying eagle?
I have actually found one. I found one about, like a year and a half ago. It's pretty trashed. Really trashed.
The only one I ever found was in the seated hunt at a Central Florida Metal Detecting Club a few weeks back in Orlando. And it was a seated hunt, and I was picking up the relics, and then all of a sudden I looked, and I was like, hey, first flying eagle, and then it was pretty cool. So
that is cool.
Hey, guys, phone lines are open. We can take calls. Call in tonight.
Us.
Yeah, don't be backward. Call in. I've got one flying eagle, and my flying eagle came off of a Civil War site. Obviously, probably dropped by a soldier,
That's pretty neat.
Yeah,
I don't have a plate yet. That's
I don't have a plate either. Somebody got my plate right out from in front of me.
Now, I'm not bragging or anything, but I've just been lucky and blessed with. I have found 13 plates, and of course they're all union. And of course, I'm still looking for the CS plate. I've never found a CS plate.
You can throw your union one back to me. That's fine.
Lloyd and I was hunting a construction site, and of course, it was kind of neat. I don't know if you've seen the video or not, but it was a big pile of dirt there where they were like digging out from where they was going to put the bank, and then of course they would bring the dirt piles and dump them. And Lloyd and I was like a bunch of buzzards. We'd just go over the dirt pile, little small dirt piles at first. Then after he got so many there, he would push it up into a big pile. And so Lloyd, he was going up and down the right side, and I was going up and down the left side. So Lloyd's like, well, here, he was finding a few bullets and stuff on his side. And he was like, well, I wasn't finding really anything on my side. So he's like, well, you can come over here. My first signal was a U.S. box plate. And he just walked right over it. And I was like,
oh, man.
So, sorry about that, Lloyd.
Yeah, we had a call come in, 5532, that dropped out. We have to wait until we get a break in the conversation and get back with you. But call back in, any of you that want to. And Denny's calling in. Let me see if I can link Denny up right here. I know Denny's got a question. Are you there, Denny?
I'm here.
Good.
Maya,
hello.
Hi there. Do you water detect?
I have not dabbled very much in water detecting, but as it begins to warm up, when it eventually does, I would love to go water detecting.
Do you have lakes around you, or would you go in the ocean?
We've got just about everything: lakes, rivers, ocean. I definitely would like to do the ocean because I do work. I work probably a 5-minute walk from the beach, so I really ought to do some beach digging.
Yeah, but, I'm not a big ocean digger, but I love my lakes. So
yeah.
Found a few rings in a lake.
Huh.
That's a good place.
I would say a lot of rings in a lake.
Yeah.
Do you know how many rings you found?
Over 1,000.
Wow, that is a lot.
That's too many. That's too many.
Too many.
And 5532 did call back in. Who we got on the line?
Yeah, hi there. This is Glenn from the Boston area. I actually,
hey, Glenn.
know and hunt with Maya, and I wanted to give her an update regarding the privy digging, in that I ordered and received my first dirt probes next week. So we're all set to go dig our first privies.
Good deal.
I'm excited, Glenn.
The only question I have for the experienced relic hunters down there is that the longest ones I can get here in the Boston area very easily are 5-footers. Is that actually, are those tall enough? I mean, is anybody going to dig deeper than a 5-foot hole to start?
That's almost too big.
Yeah, that's long.
That's long. I hunt in Virginia and only use a 4-footer because they bow. If you get into rocks that bow too easy or hard clay.
Well, the one I have, I've got two. I've got a 4-footer and I've got a 5-footer. And the 5-footer, it works. I mean, you have to go in at an angle. You can't go straight down, of course. But, I mean, it works pretty good. So I mean, it's just an extra foot, so it does okay.
It all depends on the soil, you know. And
right.
If you're in Virginia with that hard red clay, 4-footer is probably about all that you could use. But, you know, you get into some of the areas like we have here. Me and Jeff dug a trash pit yesterday, and, you know, we could have used a 5-footer without any problem at all there, because what was the bottom of that? 4.5 foot probably, Jeff?
Yeah, that's about it.
Where did you buy your probe at?
Well, actually, just Home Depot. You know, they're like $20. So, you know, if they're too big, it's easily enough returned, or just swap for a shorter one.
What I wanted to tell you is John Kendrick from Digging in Virginia makes them, and it's called a singing probe because if it hits glass, it sings. Where all you bought was a tile probe.
Can someone post that name on the show comments? That way I can look it up after the show. That would be very helpful.
Sure, we'll do that, or we will put it on the Relics Radio Facebook group page. If you're not a member there, you need to come join that group anyway. And
I think I joined to listen to this show.
Okay, great. Great.
Thanks for calling in, Glenn.
Now don't drop off after don't drop off the Facebook group after she leaves, because we have other great guests as well.
Glenn, Gone Dig at Matt Howell, he digs a lot of privies at DIV, and he just posted in the comment section, if you're digging privies, and 5 foot is one of the best you can use.
He doesn't use a metal detector; he just uses a probe.
Yeah, we have a number of cellar holes. Maya knows that where we're trying to find the privies for the cellar holes, and especially the older sites, they're all filled in, rocky soil, indoor. Just not knowing exactly where to look. None of us in our immediate digging group actually are experts on this, so I'm sure we'll be learning and hopefully finding many more in the next couple of years.
Well, hey,
thank you very much.
Well, hang on the line there for just a minute. If we could get Matt Howell to call in, because he's experienced at this, and you could ask him some questions, and he knows more about it than I do, because they dig a lot of pits and a lot of huts and everything, and he's familiar with the probes and everything. So if you've got a minute, if you can, Matt, we'll call in and I can tell you one thing, Loy.
They use a probe now that has it's got a tester hole or a side on it. So if he's digging a privy hole and he digs down and finds glass or something in that little slot, or even ash. That's what we look for in Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what we look for too. Is the ash, and at digging in Virginia, when you're digging huts and things like that, you have to get the iron to get you in the hole. And the trash pit that me and Jeff dug, there was a big piece of iron that got us into that. And as we got down to that iron, you really got into a lot of charcoal. And so those are things that you look at. But also distance from the house. And it's my understanding that when they would move the privy, they would plant a dogwood tree or some kind of tree. What was that, Jeff?
I'm thinking boxwood.
Boxwood, that's what it was. Boxwood tree.
I don't know if we have those.
If you are at an old site and you see maybe a small line of boxwood trees, that's probably a pretty good indicator that there were privies in that area. And they're, speaking from experience, the privy's not going to be too far from the house.
Is that a redneck thing they do down there in Kentucky?
What's that?
Putting that tree in the outhouse hole.
Kentucky and Tennessee.
I don't know if it is or not. Hey, Matt Howell is on with us now. What's going on, Matt?
How are you guys doing? Great show this evening. Nice to be on. Nice to talk to you, Maya.
Yeah, nice to meet you too.
And
thanks for calling in.
Glenn was wanting to know.
Greg, right? Or Glenn.
Yeah, Glenn was
and
wanting
Jenny,
to know.
I think you're hiding in there. So, I it's interesting, the whole pit concept, and a lot of folks are pretty new to it. I'll tell you that a couple of years ago, I was pretty new to it as well. So not only do I go to organized hunts and attempt to dig privies or trash pits or huts, whatever it is, but I focus a lot of my personal time outside of digging in Virginia looking for trash pits, because honestly, if you find something intact, it's going to be something you've never found, much like your guys' bucket list. I think that if you're going for someone looking for a pit or a trash pit or a privy, the best advice I could ever give anybody is, if you were living in that home in the late 1600s, early 1700s, even into the 1800s, just think about where you would have put a refuse pile or a privy. In my experience, for a lot of colonial period places, is that what you want to look for is a trash pit. You don't necessarily want to find a privy. Because if you lived in the country, why would you fill up where you had basically a utilitarian item with garbage?
And somebody, like what? I was listening to somebody on a show recently, and they're talking about trash pits now, where the old folks, threw their trash, and they said it's generally about 100 yards from the house. Now, this is a trash pit, not a privy. Be about 100 yards from the house, and it would be off of the slope of the mound where the house was built. And I know that I have, on a lot of the old sites that I've hunted, along the outside slopes that are about 100 yards out from the house, you find a ton of buttons and suspender clips and things like that. So I think there's a little bit of wisdom in that statement.
Yeah,
well,
absolutely.
we have a lot of markers in our area, in that, as you've probably heard in the Northeast, there are thousands of miles of stone walls. And so a lot of our research is done around finding the stone walls and then finding the areas where, again, cellar holes are likely to be found. And we're pretty good at doing that. But it's funny that, especially in our area, the cellar holes can be almost 400 years old now. So the cellar holes themselves are very small. Maybe some of them are only 10 by 10 feet. And that's stuff to keep in mind, because we have been pretty lucky at finding the wells and the cellar holes, like I'd mentioned and Maya's mentioned. But finding the privies, that's something we're going to have to work on. And your advice on looking farther away from the house, I don't think we've looked that far yet at our sites.
He said closer, didn't he?
Well,
yeah, but you have to remember too that if you lived in the 1600s or 1700s in New England,
it's cold.
You didn't want to go outside to use the bathroom, so you wouldn't have put your privy that far away. Even here in Virginia, where I have homes that are still standing from the early 1700s, the country privies, and that's what we call them. We have city privies and we have country privies. Country privies don't have contents in them. They have maybe a small layer of trash, maybe a few odds and end things if you're able to find one. But country privies don't have what you guys are looking for, because you wouldn't have filled a privy up with rubbish that then later that maybe weather that year. I mean, even think about the ground temperature for you guys. Those the ground takes a while to thaw. So if you filled your privy up in the wintertime with rubbish, you would have had to dig a new one, and you couldn't do that in the wintertime.
So there might just not actually be them in the way we're thinking of them, as.
Correct.
Yeah, that's right.
And then
I never thought about that.
I hadn't either.
And then, so have you ever heard the stories of folks' loved ones passing away in New England, and they would just simply place them. They would have been, respectful of them, but they would have placed them in an outbuilding for the entire duration of the winter. And as soon as the ground could thaw, then they would bury them.
Yeah, because you can't well, I manage, but...
Right. But digging a considerable depth hole to place your loved one in would have taken a lot of effort. And sometimes, if it was cold or during a snowstorm, you wouldn't have done it. So it's very interesting, and I think that's something to take in consideration. My personal experience for you guys would probably be to dig the biggest iron signals you could dig.
That's what I was fixing to say. We had somebody on the show last year, and they were talking about recycling things back in the 1700s, early 1800s. If they broke a piece of equipment or something, they didn't just discard that. They would throw it in a certain spot. That would be their trash area. And then they could come back later and get those things and repurpose them, reuse them. And so I would concentrate on the best iron signal that I could get.
Yeah, and I believe that was Matt, the one that was talking about they done that. So,
thank you, Matt.
I believe you're going to find some privies or some good trash pits.
It's on the agenda.
And I was going to ask any future goals with the hobby, and then I think that may have answered that one.
Oh, I got a whole bunch. Where to start? But yeah, that's definitely on the list.
Lawyer Jeff, can I chime in here?
Yeah.
Here in Ohio, most of our trash pits are along a river or creek. If they had a farm, they dumped along the creek in the woods.
Yeah, so, we do that here.
And everybody around here, Bottle Hunter, definitely finds all the trash dumps along creeks or rivers.
And if you're talking about a privy, obviously you want it close to the house. But here in the South, I'll give you our kind of our criteria on whenever I was young. You always wanted the privy on the north side of the house or on the west side, because in the summertime you would have a south wind. If you had the privy south of the house, then you were going to get the smell, or on the east side as well. And then in the wintertime, you've got the wind coming out of the north, but it's cold, and so you don't have the odor in the winter that you do in the summer. So those are just just common sense things that you can think about as far as a privy. But a privy is completely different than a trash pit.
Lloyd, and when you speak of that, that's also how you look for arrowheads. The Indians weren't stupid, because they went downwind from the deer. So the deer couldn't, if they were on the other side, the deer could smell them. So think of that when you're in a woods or in a field, which way the wind's blowing. And the Indians usually were up or downwind. They weren't upwind. So the wind came in, and if a deer can smell them, they're going.
Yeah.
Or even, that's where that's where they shot. They went around to get their deer or whatever they were shooting.
Well, anyway, Glenn, I hope this answered your question. Glenn dropped off of the call here, and we appreciate him calling in. Denny, we appreciate you calling in. Matt, have you got anything else to add on the trash pits or anything?
No, not at all. I was just going to thank you guys for inviting me on. Maya, great show, and if you ever have any questions or you want any more information, reach out to me. Loy and Jeff will give you my information. It'd be great to talk to you more about this kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for answering our questions. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
thanks, Matt and Denny.
Y'all have a great night.
Okay, thanks, Matt.
You too.
It is Gone Digging on YouTube, and it's also Gone Digging on Facebook page. Great guy, great friend. He and I talked today. We talked quite a bit. Strategy and settings on GPX and everything. But yeah, if you're looking for the trash dump, the largest concentration of iron. Now, we don't like to dig that, I know, but if you're after the trash pit, do you like to dig the iron?
I love iron. You should see my basement. Oh my goodness.
Well, there's a lot of, you've said that you found that pistol. If you wasn't digging iron targets, you wouldn't have got it.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. I find a lot of cool stuff just from digging iron targets.
Yeah.
Things that I've found, coins that had, 6 bent nails on top of them. And if you weren't really listening, you just kind of quickly go over, oh, it's just iron, whatever. You'll miss stuff. So.
Yeah, and the Equinox is really good about picking those good targets out. Yeah.
The Equinox, you probably won't miss them, but.
And I'll just throw this out. I've got an Equinox, and I love it. I use my Equinox as a cleanup on colonial sites. I like using an AT Pro whenever I first scout because I can tell where the debris field is. We run ours wide open in the Pro mode and with no iron disc or anything. So we hear everything. And you're able to tell where the larger concentrations of iron are, but it's a low grunt, and you're able to pick those targets out. But then after I hunt it with an AT Pro or after I scout it out and do a once-over with that machine, then you go back in with the Equinox, and I've pulled out a lot of stuff because of the separation that it has. And that's the great thing about it, isn't it?
Yeah, it's amazing how much you can just kind of pull apart from it. Yeah. It's pretty customizable too, so you can actually control whether you want it to think that it's iron or whether you want it to not think that it's iron, and that's kind of the magic behind it. So yeah, I'm loving that machine.
And Riley,
6-inch coil for that?
I have the 6-inch. I've got the 9, and I have the 15.
Okay, of course, my home site I go with the 6-inch. Of course, I mean, you're going to have a smaller coil, but I mean, I love the 6-inch coil, and I've done some pretty good stuff with the 6-inch coil. So.
Yeah, I like. I wish they would come out with one like they've got for the CTX, the 10x5. Not that it really matters though, because the 10-inch on the Equinox is, you still can get. I find with the Equinox that the bigger coils don't give me any trouble at all. I still find I'm able to discriminate out, small things from tons of iron.
And there's something about that 10x5 coil. Now, I had a CTX. I don't have it any longer, and I didn't have the 10x5. But I hunt quite a bit with the MindLab GPX, a pulse machine. And I bought the 10x5, and it is an absolutely amazing coil. All of the elliptical coils, to me, they're amazing coils for some reason. The separation that they have just seems to be better than it does with either the round 6-inch or the 11-inch or the 13 or the 15, whatever. I don't know what it is about it, but I like the elliptical coils.
Me too. I think there ought to be more elliptical coils because they're just the best of both worlds, depth and discrimination.
Yeah. Hey, guys, we got time for one more call. If somebody wants to call in and talk to Maya, the number is 270-495-0315, and everybody's putting it in the chat here tonight, and we appreciate that. I understand from talking to Mark, Maya, that you are a dancer and you've done some acting. Why don't you talk about that for a moment?
Oh, yes, I am a dancer. I do all sorts of dancing. Haven't had as much time to do it lately, but I'm really into this style of dance called fusion dancing, which probably most people haven't heard of. But basically what it is it's a hybrid dance. So basically it's basically a bunch of people who do all sorts of different partner dancing. So you'll have people who do, cha-cha, merengue, blues, even waltz, kind of all come together and they'll dance to modern music. So yeah, it's pretty fun. I like doing that, and I'll do blues dancing. I was doing blues dancing for a long time, but I used to do community theater And I was an extra in a small movie, so that was pretty exciting. But
I'd say so.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I hope you get to do that Fujio dance sometime in the future.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I can't even imagine. You saw my cut silver video. Wait till you see the Fujio video. My camera will probably explode.
Now, what kind of theater productions were you in?
Why, musical theater, of course.
Okay.
But I did all sorts of, when I was in school, I did it, and I was Sally Brown, and You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown, so that was fun. I've been Mrs. Sourberry and Oliver. I was in Cats once. That was wild, because I didn't really, have you ever seen Cats? You know that show?
Yeah.
Okay, they all had that crazy hair.
Yeah.
Well, they were excited to have me in it because I didn't really have to do much with my hair. You can't really tell from my videos, but I have quite the hair. And so that was a good one. That was fun.
Well, the reason that I asked is one of our granddaughters is in a lot of the productions with the middle school and high school here. And I've really got into it. I didn't care all that much about it, but you let one of your kids get involved in something and all of a sudden you're involved, whether you like it or not. But I'm amazed at how much work that goes into the preparation, the rehearsals, and all of that.
My gosh. Yeah, it's insane. It's a whole nother, you live, eat, and breathe the show for a good, 8 weeks or however long it is. It's, I wish I could do it more, but it's hard to do that with the full-time job and, now the digging and dancing and acting, and you just kind of have to pick and choose sometimes. But one day, hopefully, I'll be able to do it all.
And
that takes a lot of time, I'll just tell you.
I know. I'll have to cut sleeping out.
And if you're in one of those productions in theater or something, you kind of have to assume the role of the individual that you're playing, and that takes a little bit of forethought, doesn't it?
Yeah. Oh, it sure does. You really have to, and every time you go on stage, too, you really have to kind of put yourself in that zone too. Like I remember just having to psych myself. I've had scenes where I had to be incredibly sad and just kind of psyching yourself out for that, or scenes where I had to yell at somebody, but it takes a lot of energy. But it's good fun.
It is. And now that will translate into your YouTube videos, your acting ability, won't
That's the hope.
Yeah.
I think so. I think, it's interesting because I don't really think of myself as acting in my videos. It's actually kind of funny because it's actually more real, I feel like, than any sort of video stuff I've done before. It took me a little while to get used to, honestly, because it's one thing to watch yourself in a show pretending to be somebody else and then watch yourself in your regular life just kind of doing what you love. It's kind of took me a little while to get used to.
I think it takes everybody time to get used to that, to seeing yourself on video and trying to come across as really who you are and what you want to project, and that will change from one video to another, won't it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's, it sure does.
Well, Seven and I have been rednecks all our life, and then, of course, that was the whole thing here for the show and then the YouTube videos. And, we're just being ourselves, and it's kind of funny. All these people come together and watch us just be ourselves.
Yeah.
I think that's the key to a good YouTube channel is to be yourself. Don't try to be somebody else. There are other successful people out there, but the more that you can be yourself, the more personal that you can be with the viewer, and that's hard to do. Whether you realize it or not, it does take a little bit of acting skills, doesn't it, Maya?
I'd say it takes a little bit of acting skills to kind of communicate what you're trying to say and keep your message the same, I guess, and being able to kind of communicate with everyone. It helps. It doesn't hurt.
No, it doesn't. Hey, guys, I want to challenge all of you again to go to her YouTube channel and subscribe. I noticed before showtime she had 341 subs. She needs more than that. Let's get those numbers up. Short-term goal, let's get it up to 500, then up to 1,000. But go, because I have the link in the description on this show right here, and you can go and just click that and click subscribe and click the bell so you'll get all the notifications whenever. And you've got a good video that's coming up. You've already hinted at that, haven't you?
Well, so there's one that I was just posted with that one's pretty cool. And then there's another one coming up that Riley and I were kind of joking back and forth in that Jonas and Rocky are in, and they already know what we dug up. Really what they dug up. But yeah, that one should be coming shortly too.
And Tim Henderson was asking for the link, and Mark Hoover has put all those links in the chat. Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Come on, guys, do this. Go and click.
I follow back, everybody.
Let's see if we can get her 1,000 views before tomorrow at this time.
Yeah, get her. I tell you what, Maya, you've been a wonderful, wonderful guest, and we certainly do appreciate it, don't we, Jeff?
We sure do. You've been a great guest, and appreciate all the callers and everybody in the chat, and we appreciate Detectives, Murray Branch Outdoors with Tim, and American Digger Magazine. We appreciate all of you. So.
Well, thank you. I just want to say thank you so much for having me and everybody listening in. I really appreciate it. I had a great time.
I tell you what, I can't wait to meet you and get to hunt with you. And I was invited to the bone hunt last year with Butch and Heath and them, and just couldn't swing it. But hopefully I'll get to do that and come up and hunt with Keeves. But I want to meet you and want to hunt with you. And if you're ever down this way, holler at me and Jeff, and we'll get out and do something other. We'll hunt somewhere.
Oh, yeah. Definitely keep me posted. Let me know where you guys are at. I would love to dig with you guys, and maybe we'll go find some privies.
Yeah. And Riley Bryant doesn't live that far from us. We'll get him over, even with the old 300-year-old comment. That's more toward me, though, than anything. But you've got him over a barrel now. Don't let him out from under that, Mike.
Yeah, I don't know if I can go to Chattanooga after that.
Are you going to Chattanooga?
Oh, he's trying.
Well, we're going to do a live show. That's July the 27th, I believe. We're going to do a live show for American Digger Magazine and also Relics Radio. So that'd be a perfect opportunity. And then we're going to do some hunting around that. So yeah, you got to come to that.
I know. I have weekends off now. It's a dangerous thing.
But anyway, stay on the line here for a little bit. You've been a great guest, and let me get your information and everything, because Ken and Mark Guthrie are going to send you a Detectives Relics Radio shirt. Get that up in New Hampshire. We've got some up there, but we need more. So let me close the show out, and you've just been a great guest, and thank you for being on tonight, Maya.
Thank you.
Okay. Hey, guys, if you like podcasts like this about metal detecting, check out Beyond Sight and Sound with Josh Kimmel on Sunday night and Wednesday night. Both of those are 8 o'clock Eastern. All Metal Mode with Mike Hare and Gypsy Jules is on Monday night at 8 o'clock Eastern. And then on Monday night at 9 o'clock Eastern, I am with Butch Holcomb and Jeff Lupert, American Digger Relic Roundup. Hardcore Metal Detecting with Derek Asklar and Craig Talley, our friends, have a show on Thursday night and Saturday night at 8 o'clock. And XP Team USA with Dave Kimball and Grant Hansen have a show every other Friday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. And obviously, me and Jeff will be right back here next week on Relics Radio, 8 o'clock Eastern. Join us then. Thank you so much for joining us on Relics Radio. We really do appreciate it. Be sure and join us live each Thursday night at 7 o'clock Central Time, 8 o'clock Eastern here on Spreaker. Or you can catch the archive show at Relics Radio on Spreaker, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and many other podcast outlets. Relics Radio is also syndicated on GoodTalkRadio.com and has a show each Sunday afternoon at 2 p.m. Arizona time. Please take a minute and hit the like button, and be sure and follow us so that you'll get notifications of all of our upcoming broadcasts. You can also find us on YouTube at Digging with Seven or Tennessee Jeff, or you can check us out on our Relics Radio Facebook group page or Adventures in History on Facebook. If you'd like to get in touch with us, then send an email to relicsradio@outlook.com. We'd love to hear from you. We hope you'll join us for our next episode, and until then, get out there and dig some history.